Jim Jealous would talk about, I mean, he would treat in this way where he would feel the touching into a particular resonant state. This is my interpretation. And he would facilitate the connection of the being to that layer of consciousness, and then he would leave them there. His treatments were often just a few minutes, like couple, agree, allow for the coupling, and then allow the person in a sort of long, just so micro, such nuanced attention to this resonant thread of connection to this other layer of awareness, to allow it to grow so organically that people would say, oh, I feel this treatment from Jim from 2 years ago, right? Like they would say, oh, there was an ignition of a long arc of, transformation that would, and then you imagine the slowing of it down and allowing of it to be so precise and nuanced in its response, and it's shifting, that that's a way of treating really, really deep old patterns, right? That might just take such, that might most safely be thawed so gradually over such a long arc of time. And we know our beings are so brilliant, right? Like these old patterns that we may have even inherited from generations, they're so well stabilized and integrated and held for, to really be able to be as functional and as response able in the moment for survival and living, that they can become so hidden. So when I touch into, and even in the naming of this now, the naming of, and having opened up into that larger field beyond the field of this space, somehow those things feel connected, that like touching into something so quiet. And when I'm treating people and myself and us, touching into one of those layers, it's almost like how you would date the age of a tree. Like, oh, it's so quiet. Oh, it's thawing so gradually. That's a way of sensing the age of an imprint or a cell memory or a lesion or a trauma or a pattern. It might even be a pattern that was in service at one time and is now revealing itself because it is ready to shift. And oftentimes we'll find, oh, I don't know why I didn't heal that ankle from that childhood injury till now. I've worked on it in so many different ways. Well, I offer that. I wonder, I imagine that when that piece is ready to shift, it becomes seeable. It reveals itself. And this is another way of coming at the Wendell-Berry poem in our discussion of the way that parts of the body and the being that are noisy because they're in contrast resonantly with, how an untuned instrument will stick out like a sore thumb. Well, a lesion, a segment, a vertebra, a fingernail that sings is an element of our anatomy or even our consciousness that is in trouble, quote unquote. But I would say, yes, it's wanting of ready to be regarded and received and attended to. So if it shows up, it's wanting to be seen. It's an idea to feel the resonance of that in your body. Like, so when I have a pain, maybe it's my body wanting to be seen. It's my body asking for my love and attention, connection. Maybe it's not a bad thing. And this concept that's so powerful, right? As what we're doing is we're honing our physiology to attend to what is working. We're so wired to perseverate with our attention and our thoughts and our sensing on what isn't right, because animals want to scan the terrain for danger, and this is one way we maintain safety. And we become grooved in fixating on a problem. And this practice, and the reason that meeting weekly is so powerful, is that we're gradually retooling our nervous systems and our meridians and our wiring to default in the tracking of the healing and the health. So this tracking of, I'm seeing it with my broad gaze and my holding of space for myself and my healing. I'm inviting in that which is in this moment. So much power coming through the midline. Inviting in of those parts of me that are ready to be seen and welcomed back into integration with the whole. And then they become expanded faculties, right? We now have this part of ourselves back to contribute more potency and intelligence to our function and our lives and our ability to give and see more broadly.